Alright, so today I want to go through all my Ball Python eggs that I have in the incubator. And one of the eggs that I want to look at specifically is the one that was really full of a bunch of bacteria and fungus. And as a matter of fact, it was actually almost kind of furry. And I actually put it in this egg box with a bunch of springtails, hoping that the springtails would eat all the fungus and the bacteria on that Ball Python egg that was going bad. And kind of the interesting thing about that egg is it was already starting to develop. So you could see the veins developing inside of the egg, but it was being attacked by all this mold and fungus and bacteria that was all over the egg. And when I did that video, I'd say there was probably about 20 people that said that egg is completely gone. You should just throw that Ball Python egg away. And I'm still hopeful that the springtails can save that egg. So the first egg that I want to look at is that one, to see if the springtails have done their job or if that egg is completely bad. As a matter of fact, about a week and a half from now, I'll start cutting my eggs. They're going to start hatching pretty soon, which is pretty exciting. So today what I want to do is I want to go through all 77 eggs that I have in my incubator, including that really bad one. We'll start with the bad one and see if those springtails have saved it. And if there's any other ones that are looking kind of bad, maybe getting a little bit kind of fuzzy from some of the fungus or the stuff that's grown on the egg, I might actually throw them in that springtail box if it's working. So let's jump over, pull some eggs out of the incubator and check them out. Alright, so this is it. If this actually works, it will be pretty amazing if we could save eggs with springtails. But I haven't actually even looked in this box, so I don't know what I want to see, if I want to see a good egg or if I want to see a really furry egg. So this will be kind of a surprise. And from what I'm seeing right now, it's not looking good at all. As a matter of fact, it looks really disgusting. I thought for sure this was gonna work, but take a look at that. That is the result of the experiment with the springtails and the Ball Python egg. Not exactly what I was hoping to see from this experiment. So this was actually laid on the 16th of May. This actually hatches the 17th of July. So I'm not really hopeful. This is only about a 2-week-old egg and it's looking really super bad. If this hatches, it will be amazing. Probably the worst egg that I've ever seen hatch, if it actually does hatch. So not really hopeful with this egg. This is kind of a bummer as far as the experiment. I was kind of wondering if there's still springtails in here, if they're kind of getting lost. I poured a whole box of springtails in here. So that's kind of a bummer. So, I mean, if you actually look at the moss is really damp. It has, underneath I put potting soil, and then on top of the potting soil, I just sprinkled the springtails on the carbon and put the egg right on top of the sphagnum moss. So that is not looking very good. So I guess I'm just gonna put it back in the incubator and just hope for the best on this egg. The funny thing is it doesn't smell bad, which is pretty amazing. So it was actually smelling out my whole incubator before, but the weird thing is, I don't know if it's the sphagnum moss or what's going on as far as it not smelling bad, but it doesn't smell bad at all. Not even slightly bad. Which is, it just smells like sphagnum moss, which is kind of just blows me away that this is not smelling really bad. So I guess I'll just leave it for, I guess, another like 6 weeks or something and see if this crazy thing hatches. I don't think it's gonna hatch the way it's looking though. Alright, so here's another clutch of eggs, supposed to hatch the 22nd of June. Usually a few days before that they'll start pipping and you'll actually see wow, look at all that condensation on the top. It's almost like rain, if you can actually see that. That is crazy. Let's see if I can remove the top without raining down on the eggs. That's going to be kind of the tricky thing on this one, if you can get it. I've actually done this before where you kind of pull it real tight, and then if you maybe oh yeah, it all rained down on top of the eggs. Now all my eggs are wet. But what you can actually do is, even if you do that, you can go in and kind of like pat the eggs dry from the top and kind of get all the all the water off the eggs. You know, ideally you'd go in here and remove all that condensation a lot earlier than when it gets to that point when it's like raining down on the eggs. So these eggs are looking pretty good. Take a look at this. Nice pearly white eggs. Those should hatch. These are the ones that are gonna hatch in about a week and a half, which is pretty awesome. Looking really good on these eggs. So what I do is I usually go in a little bit more frequently than this. I've been kind of slacking on the eggs. Some people just leave them completely alone and don't even go in there and mess with the eggs until they hatch. But I like to go in and kind of wipe all the humidity and all the condensation from up under this press and seal that seals them in on the top. So those look like they're doing pretty good. Can't get much better than that. Nice pearly white eggs. You know, after being in the incubator for, well, they're actually in the incubator for 60 days total before they'll hatch. So these have been in there for, you know, almost about a week and a half, less than that. So not too bad as far as this clutch. And this one is my bamboo calico crossed with my lesser. So we should get some blue-eyed leucistics. The bamboo lessers are blue-eyed leucistics. We'll get some bamboos, which a lot of people are waiting for bamboos, and some bamboo calicos. And then, of course, we'll get some lessers and a certain number of normals. Hopefully we don't get too many normals from that clutch. Alright, so I have to admit I haven't looked at any of these eggs in at least a month, although I have looked in the incubator to check the temperature like at least twice a day. I'm like, you know, definitely checking my temperature. One year, my temperatures were way off, and I'm not letting that happen again. Definitely, I had some malfunction. I think it was my fan or something in there that kind of glitched out. Look at all the water in here. That's amazing. It's just raining down on the eggs, which if you have a lot of, like all this condensation raining down on the eggs, they can potentially mold a lot more than otherwise. But these are like a couple weeks behind the other ones, so these are gonna hatch a little bit later. Look at how good they're looking. Looks like almost like the day they were laid. That is pretty amazing after being in there for so long. So these were laid, let's see when these were laid. These were laid the 9th of May, and it's already June. So it's been about a month that these have been in there, which is pretty good. It's almost been like exactly a month, which is kind of crazy. And this is actually my pastel Enchi Desert Ghost crossed with my pastel calico Het Desert Ghost. So half of these technically should be visual desert ghosts. And then some will be pastel, some will be super pastels, some will be super pastel Enchi calicos that are desert ghosts. And let me tell you, if I hit one of those and it's a female, I would definitely hold that one back. Depending on how well I do this year. Like last year I had a bunch of cool snakes, but I didn't have that many snakes and I had to sell most of them that I really wanted to hold back, which was, you know, it's always kind of a challenge trying to, you know, live on your hatchlings and YouTube money and trying to hold back some snakes too. You can't hold them all back. You have to make a living selling snakes. That's essentially what I do. So this is pretty awesome. These will hatch the 8th of July, 2021. Alright, so here's another box of eggs from the incubator. Hopefully these are all looking okay. What I'm really looking for is I'm looking for any eggs that are potentially going bad. And if I actually see some, I'll probably separate them into a completely separate box. And so far these are all looking really good. Pretty amazing. Getting a little bit of just a few drips. I can't believe how much rain it's raining down on the eggs from all this condensation, which is kind of crazy. So these all look fantastic. These were laid May 11th. It's kind of weird. I had a whole bunch of eggs laid pretty much all in a row, pretty much all at the same time, which is kind of unusual. Usually they're a lot spread out. So this is actually a combination of my Banana Enchi Clown with my Lemon Blast, which is a pastel pinstripe. So technically I could get a Banana Enchi pastel pinstripe Het Clown out of those, which, well, as you know, the thing with the banana is my banana is a male maker, so all the bananas will be males. Although if I hit one with all the genes plus the head clown, I might actually hold that one back as a future breeder. I have 2 female clowns. I have a lesser clown and just a regular clown female that I'm breeding this year. As a matter of fact, it almost looks like my lesser clown could potentially lay some eggs late this year, which would be pretty amazing if that actually happened, because I bred my banana inchy clown to my lesser clown, which would be a fantastic clutch if she lays eggs. This one's due to hatch on the 10th of July. Alright, so if you're wondering what the date is today, today is the 9th of June. So those last eggs are almost exactly halfway through the incubation process, which is pretty amazing as far as how good they're looking for being that old in the incubator. So this is a pretty awesome combination. This is my Coral Glow Het Pie crossed with my Lemon Blast, my pastel pinstripe. So I should get Coral Glow, pastel, pinstripes. And then this is, they'll all be, ooh, look at this. Look at this. This is not good. We have another bad egg. As a matter of fact, this is the same clutch as the clutch with the bad eggs. So what I'm gonna do, that is not good. So take a look at this. That is almost the same condition as the other egg, really super moldy. And kind of the weird thing about this is that really moldy egg, that snake laid 5 days before all these other eggs. So I was kind of on the fence. It's like, I was trying to decide, all right, did that snake lay the one 5 days early, or did it get egg bound with all these eggs, and all these are egg bound? So I'm thinking it was actually an early egg on that first one, but it's kind of interesting we're getting another bad egg. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this egg and put it in the springtail box with that other ball python egg. All right, so even though this isn't working too well with the springtails, I don't know if I see any other option. The other option would be to maybe get some more springtails and kind of sprinkle them on the top here for this one. And let me tell you, I am not touching that egg with my bare hands. I'm gonna use a paper towel to get this one out. And this is another reason I like to separate all the eggs. Ooh, that one is really funky. Take a look at that egg. If that one hatches, it'll be a miracle. Do you think that one will actually make it? Look at how fuzzy that one is. Super, super fuzzy. And I think the springtails, if you actually look at kind of the fuzziness of this egg, it looks like the springtails may have kind of cleaned up kind of the fuzziness of the egg. But look at all the kind of the blue-green mold on my paper towel. That is disgusting. If nothing else, this will at least cut the smell down. It doesn't really smell that bad in there, which is kind of interesting, because this one really stunk super bad before I put it in the springtail box. So you never know on these. That's why I like to separate all my eggs, so if I have a bad one, I can move them over. And usually, if you separate them quick enough, you actually won't affect any of the other eggs. So that's what I'm hoping. So I'm gonna keep this springtail box going. I'm almost tempted to try to add some more springtails. Maybe some isopods would work too. The isopods will eat organic matter. I don't know if they'll eat the fungus or the bacteria or anything like that on the eggs. And on this one, I tried to put some springtails in here, but I kind of did it the same way with the other box, and all the springtails died because it didn't have the right environment just on this vermiculite water. I was thinking it needed more organic matter in there. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like my springtail experiment really worked, other than just completely eliminating the smell, which is a good thing. You can actually move them over and eliminate the smell and get them away from other eggs. So we'll see if those hatch. It would be really amazing if those 2 eggs would actually hatch. All right, so here's another one. This is from my banana inchy clown crossed with a normal female ball python. So that banana inchy clown is finally paying off after 2 years Looking good. Wow, look at those. Those were laid the 22nd of May, really close to my birthday, and these will hatch the 21st of July, which is pretty awesome. Actually, that was the most expensive snake I ever bought, was that Banana Enchi Clown. I paid $1,500 for that thing, and it looks like this year is gonna be the first year that it really pays off. Take a look at those eggs. Those are really looking good. A lot of these eggs are really looking good. And let me tell you, you actually put this vermiculite and water for pretty much 50-50. I use 150 grams of vermiculite, 150 grams of distilled water, and then put on this press and seal and completely enclose the whole thing. And that's been working really good for the last few years. I don't really see any reason to change out my egg boxes. When I first started, I tried a whole bunch of different things and nothing really worked as good as this setup right here. So that's pretty fantastic. So these are gonna hatch the 21st of July. All right, so this one was a really big clutch. So in one egg box, I can fit 11 eggs. If it's bigger than, the clutch is bigger than 11 eggs, then I have to go to 2. I think this was a 12 egg clutch. So this was the combination of my bamboo calico crossed with a lesser, which is pretty awesome. And these, that's kind of interesting on these. So I'm seeing a little bit of growth, which is kind of surprising because these were laid on the 26th of May. So these haven't been in there too long, and they're already looking kind of like it has, you can kind of see some color, like it looks like kind of like an orangish pink color. Little bit of fungus on this one spot over on the side egg, but not looking too bad. But you have to keep in mind, these are going to be in the incubator for a long time, up until the end of July, the 25th of July. So that's like a month, and this still has, you know, almost a month and a half to go on those. So those, I'll have to keep an eye on those to make sure they're doing okay. And let me tell you, once an egg starts going bad, I've tried spraying all kinds of stuff. I've tried an iodine soak, I've tried the antifungal powder, I've tried antifungal spray, I've tried a little bit of bleach water, kind of don't get them into bleach water, and I've tried the Springtails. It seems like I can't save an egg that's going bad, which is pretty wild once they reach a certain point. Although I have had some eggs that were really bad that did hatch out some hatchlings, which are pretty crazy. So this one is kind of looking interesting too. It's almost like a biology experiment with the different colors of mold and fungus in here. It'd be interesting to kind of target exactly what the mold and the fungus. This almost looks like a kind of a yellow bacteria up on this one, which is just a little bit on the surface, but you kind of have to keep an eye on them so they don't get too bad. And you know, this is like the perfect environment for that stuff to grow, so sometimes it's kind of hard to keep it at bay. I saw one reptile YouTube video where one guy used a bleach dip on their Ball Python eggs before they put them in the incubator, and they claimed that it significantly reduced the amount of the bacteria on the eggs. So that's one possibility, although I'm not brave enough to actually put all my eggs in a bleach dip. You know, if something happened, you had the wrong concentration or something, that could be devastating for your whole year of ball pythons. Alright, so here's another box. I was just thinking, I was walking over here from my incubator carrying this box of eggs. Probably the most expensive mistake that you can make would be to drop one of these boxes. And let me tell you, if you had a really expensive clutch, that could be devastating. And I know a lot of people, they don't even mess with their eggs at all. They just leave them in the incubator until they hatch. But I like to go in and check on them. Especially if I have a really nasty one, I can remove it and move it over to another box. And I definitely like to take all the condensation off the top of the press and seal so it doesn't rain down. And look at how pristine these eggs are in the incubator. That's pretty amazing. So these were laid the 27th of May. This is my bamboo calico crossed to a normal. So I'll get bamboos, bamboo calicos, I'll get some calicos and some normals out of this, and hopefully I'll have a better year than I did last year as far as the odds. Actually, on one of my clutches I bred my bamboo to something else, I can't remember what it was, but something had bamboo in it, and everybody was waiting for a bamboo offspring, and out of 10 eggs I only got 1 bamboo out of that clutch. And I was like really light on bamboos last year, because you know, technically the odds, if you breed a bamboo to something else, 50% should be bamboo, so I should have got 5 bamboos at least out of that clutch of eggs. Alright, so this is a really interesting clutch. This was the combination of my Coral Glow 100% het pied crossed with my dinker, and that dinker looked really like a really unusual looking normal. It had some really crazy patterns and like a line down the top with a bunch of bubbles in it, and I thought there was something going on with that dinker, and it actually came, the dinker came from my Coral Glow crossed to a normal. So I held that dinker back thinking maybe there's some kind of a weird gene or something going on in there, and I bred it back to the Coral Glow, bred it back to the parent, which I know a lot of people kind of frown on inbreeding, but this time you don't really have a choice if you're going after a new gene, kind of fishing for a new gene. And hopefully if that dinker is like a co-dominant and I can hit the super form by breeding it back to the Coral Glow, maybe I'll pop out some really crazy looking snakes. So this clutch, I'll have 4 chances to hopefully hit the super. So technically, if it is a new gene or a gene that I'm not familiar with and you actually breed it back to that one, you'll have a 1 in 4 chance of hitting the super if you actually breed them together. So technically the odds are in my favor that I could potentially hit the super on that one. But look at that, they're kind of wobbly a little bit. I don't know if I want to bring them up to the camera, but they're looking pretty good. I have 1 boob egg here, and usually with the boob eggs you get like a really tiny hatchling, but I'd say most of the times they do hatch. And this one looks like a little boob egg too, where it just has a little bit right on the edge. I could probably bring it up to the camera so you can take a look at that. And yeah, if you get like a little thing on the egg like that, usually they will hatch no problem at all. So that one is looking really good. I'm really excited about that one to see if I can prove that one out. And kind of the other interesting thing too is I'm pretty confident that that dinker is at least het pied because it has tracks on the belly. So I'm taking the Coral Glow 100% het pied, breeding it back to a het pied. So technically I could get a Coral Glow pied, a visual pied, which is another one I could potentially hold back. As a matter of fact, this year I might hold back quite a few because I have so many eggs, and I could definitely use some more females to boost my collection. Alright, so here's my last box. So technically I had 77 eggs, but minus the 2 that I'm not really hopeful that they're going to hatch. So it looks like I might have, so far, 75, could potentially have 75 hatchlings, which is pretty awesome. And this one, oh, this is the one that just laid recently. This was the 4th of June, so this is just like 5 days ago. This was my albino pied crossed with my albino 100% het pied. Awesome combination. And look at how many eggs we got on this one, and they're looking pretty good. Not too bad for being in there for 5 days. And these are really nice big eggs too, which is pretty awesome. One year I had one of my albinos lay and I had really small hatchlings. I'm thinking maybe they were twins, where one of the twin died and then the other one fully developed, which is kind of interesting. As a matter of fact, I should have looked. On one of these eggs, I made a big T on the egg because I thought for sure when the snake laid it, it looked like there was 2 embryos in it. I should have been looking for that. I'm not sure what box it was in, but it wasn't in this one. So technically on this one, I should get half visual albino pieds, which is pretty awesome. So 3 or 4, if the odds are with me, I'll get 3 or 4 visual albino pieds, and then 3 of them will be albinos 100% het pieds, which is potentially another one that would be pretty awesome to hold back. If I held back an albino pied female and bred it back to that male, I get a whole clutch of albino pieds, which would be pretty awesome. And look at this crescent seal completely stuck to itself. That's one thing you gotta watch about this crescent seal, is sometimes it can kind of stick to itself. But usually you can always recover it. Usually it's not a problem with this crescent seal. So that's it. They're looking pretty good. I was just kind of surprised that that one egg got so bad so fast in there with all the other good eggs from that same clutch from that bad egg. And I was kind of surprised that the Springtails didn't do a little more cleanup on that really bad egg. Another thing I was surprised about is that the bad egg didn't smell bad anymore. It must have been the sphagnum moss that completely absorbed all the smell from that bad egg, which is pretty wild. As a matter of fact, it might be good to kind of sprinkle like line your bins with sphagnum moss. That way if you get a bad egg, it doesn't smell up the whole incubator. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty exciting. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.